Greetings, good people. Welcome to another edition of Leaders and Learners, where we all know that the best leaders are lifetime learners. Never forget that. But today we're going to talk about something they didn't put in the leadership handbook, okay? Because the handbook was written by someone who was not thinking about you. My guest today has spent 25 years training thousands of women, corporate, political, nonprofit leaders, women. She's done it all. You name it, she's done it. To stop surviving the room and start owning it. We absolutely have to be audacious in our leadership and unafraid. And we're going to talk about that today. She wrote a book. Literally, it's called, wait for it, Duct Tape and White Lies. Yes, and it hits different. This is Leaders and Learners. I'm Tonya McKenzie, and today we're about to unpack the real leadership, what it looks like, especially when the gloves are off. So press play, thank me later. Hello, Miss Emily. How are you?
Hi, Tanya. Thanks for having me. And thank you for choosing to be a woman leader. What a difference you make in the world.
I try, and I don't even think it's on purpose. Some of us, I think, are thrown into situations where it's almost sink or swim when it comes to leadership, right? It just like, how did I get here? Why do I have all
That
these responsibilities?
that's what women do every day.
Absolutely. So I want you to tell us one, as a publicist who has worked with a lot of authors, one thing I do know is that writing a book is not easy. It's just not. And with the other thousand things that you've decided to do with your life, why did you decide to go ahead and write this book? And what was the most difficult part for you?
First of all, I am not a publicist who has worked with authors. So I learned this all on my own as I was going along. A few years ago, I've always worked in politics and government and business here in Washington, D.C. And over the course of time, I was studying what made women successful and taking notes on my phone. And not just the ones with the fancy titles and the elite jobs, but who was thriving in their life and what was it that set them apart. And I put all of that in a business plan a few years ago and went out and started teaching this Women Leaders Series workshop across the country, eventually took off globally because there's nothing else like it out there. Like, I think there's a lot of, sure, that's great advice if you work in a very specific work environment. And by the way, you can't manifest your way to success. You got to actually do it. So it took off like gangbusters. And as I'm teaching it, Tanya, women kept on asking me for the book. And I said, the what? And they said, the book. And I said, oh, I'm not writing a book. So last year on May 15th, almost a year ago to this date, I wrote a book, 45 days, handed in the final manuscript because it was imperative to me that this was in the hands of women at the very beginning of Women's History Month and ahead of International Women's Day. And just like we should suspect, based on the Women Leader series, it has taken off like wildfire. It has been on the USA Today bestsellers list, the LA Times bestseller list, a ton of the categorical bestsellers on Amazon because we have so much in common, and almost nobody is offering women a step-by-step guide of how do I actually do that.
I appreciate that. I want to ask you this because with the book, it seems that you've outlined some things that are very important. And I want you to answer in as transparently as possible because you have over 25 years of experience advising women in leadership. In all that time, what is the single biggest lie the leadership industry has been selling women? And why has nobody ever called it out before?
I think the biggest misunderstanding about what leadership and personal success looks like is there is a ton of sacrifice. I have yet to meet a woman who is at a point in her life where she says, you know what, I like me and I like what I'm spending my time on, even if it's just a small part or portion beyond all the responsibilities we have. And that there's a belief out there that somebody got into the lucky line or somebody got into the easy line. Nobody's I've ever met has ever gotten into the lucky line or the easy line. Grind it out.
Yeah. Uh, Lucky. I don't know. Timing, sometimes if you are prepared and you find yourself in the right space for the opportunity, I mean, could that be something that you're like lucky? Could you call that lucky?
I don't call that lucky. I call that planned serendipity. Because
Mm,
if you're not out there, if you have not chosen, for example, if you have not chosen to put yourself on LinkedIn, all of the potential opportunities you may not even know exist on LinkedIn will never come to you. So that is all about being a woman leader too, and saying, I'm going to take a certain level of risk and do some things, even if I don't know what the outcome may be or if there's one at all,
yeah,
because that's not being lucky. That's doing things on purpose.
being prepared. Yeah. The title, Duct Tape and White Lies, it's doing a lot of work, okay? The title alone does a lot of work. I want you to break it down for me. What are the duct tape moments you've seen women leaders rely on? And when does that survival mode actually become the problem?
Great questions. By the way, great questions. You're a great interviewer. You ask things that are different from everybody else. Duct tape and white lies was always the answer I gave women in this town when they said, how do you do it all, Emily? And I wanted to dispel the myth that I had something that was perfect going on. By the way, perfection is unattainable and it's miserable. And I wanted them to understand that all of us live our lives in the messy middle and you can still have what you want there. But duct tape, women have an uncanny ability to find the solution, even when it's not easy. And then when it comes to white lies, and I get pushback on this every once in a while, I don't think there's anything wrong with white lies. In fact, I think it is polite and effective. And by that, I mean things such as we always tell every new mom that she looks beautiful. I mean, she's exhausted. And this is not her best moment for personal appearance. But that's something kind we do for other people. Uh, but when I talk about um, oh, go back. Tell me the second piece because I've forgotten the second piece and it was so smart.
Um, so I wanted to know the lies that hold women back and like the top two lies that hold women back.
I think the biggest liar, and I call him dream slasher, for women is that they lie to themselves and they lie to themselves in a way that they get in their own way. Um, I use the term dream slashers. I made it up because it's all these things we do to prevent ourselves from having what we want. Here's some examples. Oh, I'm going to do this thing that's really important to me, but I'm going to do it once my kids are older, or my mom's not sick, or I lose 20 pounds, or once I have the first $10,000 worth of investment. That's never going to happen. You've got to go now. You've got to get out of your comfort zone. We're kind of built to stay within a comfort zone. It's how we protect ourselves. That's fine. But unless you get out of it, you're never going to be satisfied with your life and you're going to live with a certain amount of regret you didn't need to.
Mm, I agree. I agree. I think regret is probably one of the biggest caveats in life for me. Like, that's the one thing you never want to get to the end of the road, wherever that is, and say, I wish I would have. I wish I could have, because we can. And you're right, you should, not should have. So, get to it. Get
And
to
by the
it.
way, doesn't mean it's going to work out. I've had
Right.
lots of things that haven't worked out, but I'm not thinking, what if I did that? What if it worked out? I know it didn't. So now I can put it to bed and move on to the next thing.
Put it to bed. That's the piece. Wrap it up. Now you don't have to wonder, right?
Exactly.
Just fear. I don't know. I guess that's the message for me. It's like fear. Don't let fear drive your decisions. Fear of failure, because without the failure, you don't have the opportunity for the next chance that you're going to take on yourself. And at the end of the day, that's what you're taking, is a chance on yourself and your intellect and your your ideas and what's right for you. And I just think, we spend too much time being afraid of what's on the other side of that. Also, though, some people are afraid of the success that they might attain. Is that something you run into?
I find that women, what they want in life, I don't even describe it as personal, I describe it as intimate. And lots of women don't want success the way other people define it. They actually don't want to be the CEO of a company. Some of them want to clean up the stream in their neighborhood. So I think success is very intimately defined, and that's good. But I find based on what they define as success and want, they are passionate about getting that.
Hmm. I could see that. So, Fortune 100 companies, they've paid you to train their women, but statistically, women still hold less than 10% of the Fortune 500 CEO positions. At what point do we stop training women to navigate broken systems and start demanding that the systems actually change?
And my answer is I don't know about that. What I have chosen throughout my career, working with, powerful leaders, is I want myself and other women to be successful in what they want, and that I cannot fix everything. I get questions from women such as, I work with this colleague, he doesn't respect me. He may never respect you. You may, and rather than spending a lot of time thinking about how a system or a person is unchangeable, you got to figure out how you get around it. And in
Mm,
politics, we have to do this all the time. That doesn't mean things shouldn't change. But spending your time and energy on things that I can't impact is not a good use of my time and energy, and frankly, not the good use of a lot of other people's as well. I talk in the book at points, I talk about women in industries such as finance and private equity who are rare among the upper echelons of their colleagues. And, they talk about things like, I can't plot this out for everybody else. I just need to plot it out for me. And what I've been able to do is be exceptionally successful. Hopefully, somebody else can see that as some wisdom for their path as well. But I got to look out for me. And that's what I love about women. Find your way. Don't worry about everybody else. Find your way.
mm, I love that. You talk about building brand and selling yourself. I'm a huge personal branding advocate. I teach it, it's so important. Also, giving yourself kudos, learning how to. I read a book called Brag Better, learn how to brag on yourself. But we both know there's a tax that women pay, especially women of color, for being too visible, too loud, too much. How do you coach women through that double standard without just telling them to push through it?
There's a few things I do, and this is great material. And you're right. I also teach you need to tell a story about yourself, and you need to start asking for what you want. You got to get in the habit. Start small. Start asking. That's how you get things. But one of the differentiators in my material is I go into how if you're communicating with men the same way you're communicating with women, you are losing. And we, I think, oftentimes communicate based on how we take information on in, and our brains are wired completely different. So here's some examples on this kind of stuff and being braggadocious. We women don't like braggadocious. I often refer to it as we like that Downton Abbey speak, where you kind of skirt around things and you don't come out straight out and say it. We're looking for commonality and consensus. And that is important when talking to other women. But when it comes to men, you have to be clear and straightforward. You have to say I. You have to take credit for your accomplishments. And you have to understand that they are not there for venting and frustration. That's what moms and girlfriends and therapists are for. They want clear direction from you on what you want, And if you give them a task, it needs to be a clear task that they can come back and complete and say thank you. Um, I I think that we all have to walk a fine line in being too braggadocious. And I actually don't think it's bad. But I think it's all about how we approach human beings. If we have a relationship with somebody, even if it's just in the last 120 seconds in which we met them, if you come off as a human being, then when you deliver something that may be a little more edgy or a little bit more raw, it is taken a lot better than when we don't start with developing a relationship with other people.
Yeah. Relationships are huge. They are underrated and undervalued. But that also leads to people taking good relationships for granted because they're not transactional, right?
I live in a transactional town, and it's
Yes,
not,
you do.
and it's not. I actually like it. I it's not that you automatically get something in return. So if somebody says to me, "Hey, Emily, do you know somebody at this business here in town? They're hiring. I want to apply for the VP job." I'm going to connect them with someone I know. Um, but in return, I'm going to know that I can ask them for a favor at some point. And it may be 4 years from now. But we always work in this transactional space, and I like it. Here's what's wrong is when somebody doesn't understand that because I did for you, you have an obligation to do for me. Those kind of people I keep a close eye on and put on the back burner. If you don't understand that this is a give and take, just like any relationship, you know, I don't need much of you around, and I don't respect you.
I hear you. How, but how do you, I'm sure you get women to work with that probably have been run over a few times, probably have been taken advantage of a few times, probably lead with their heart instead of per se a mindset like the one you are speaking about. How do you get them to change and be more transactional when they're used to just I'm a good person, so I'm just going to do good and hopefully people will do good by me.
Or that my work stands for itself, so I don't need to go out and promote myself and tell people because I did it, and that should be all it takes.
Hmm.
Um, by the way, I've been run over. I've been belittled. I've been sexually harassed. I've been paid less. I've been insulted, all of that stuff. I can't live there though. I have to live in the place that I'm snow plowing forward because living in that place is just miserable. The people who have wronged us. What I did seriously in this book was provide that step by step for women. Like, here's how you put a selling you pitch together. And don't just think that it's going to work. You need to practice it, and you need to practice it with what I call a swimsuit friend. That friend who's going to be honest with you and give you good feedback. And you got to go test it, and you've got to try it for yourself and say, did that go over well or did that not go over well? What do I need to adjust here? You've got to build a network. And one of the questions I often get asked, Tonya, from women about networking, women of all backgrounds, especially women who don't come from a background of, riches, fancy titles, fancy schooling, which includes me, but I don't get invited to things or the thing. And I always tell them, you got to stop that. Here's how I started getting invited to things that matter. I started bringing women together myself. And it wasn't overnight, but over the course of time, the ticket into my world was as valuable as the other tickets. And so people started inviting me to their things because they wanted in on mine. So just stop waiting for things to happen. You're going to have to take these kind of risks. You're going to have to do things you're not comfortable doing.
Yeah, I hear you. Community over competition is one of your core beliefs. And I want to be honest. I want you to be honest. Women are socialized to compete for limited seats at limited tables. How do you get women to actually practice collaboration when the environment is designed to pit them against one another?
I think I would say I agree in both. I am in a business where, if I want the job, oh, I'm getting it. And I'm going to do what I have to do. Now, nobody dictates my character but me. I am not going to do something that is illegal or unethical. But if I need to outmaneuver you, I'm going to do it every single time. If I need to outwork you, guaranteed it's going to happen. But at the same time, we need to be respectful of one another and help each other out. I have just as good of relationships on both sides of the aisle, even though I clearly exist in this town on one side. I always say politics is my favorite blood sport, but that doesn't mean that if somebody I know wants something and I don't want it as well, that I'm not going to push them forward because that's a value to them. It's also a value to me.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. 20 years from now, what does leadership look like for women if we actually do the work? Now, listen, not the LinkedIn version, the real version. What changes and what's never going to change?
Here's what I think it looks like. I think it looks like people living lives where they are satisfied with their life, that their definition of happiness and thriving is a whole lot clearer, and that there's a peace of mind. What's not going to change? It's never going to be easy. The easy
Mm,
route is never there. And number two, there's always going to be somebody who says, this isn't fair. And, it's that lesson all of us heard when we were little. Life isn't fair. It's never going to be fair it's never going to be that way. But it doesn't mean you can't have what you want in the world at the same time.
I like it. I like it. What was the hardest part of writing your book?
Um, I think the hardest part of the whole book, writing it was not hard. I think the hardest part of it is uh, navigating myself in an industry and getting up to speed very quick and making myself successful, knowing nobody thought I could do this except for me.
Mm, good enough. Good enough. Listen, I'm going to go through a speed round really quick with you. Okay. First thing that comes off the top of your head, no essays, just have a little fun with it. Start here. Duct tape or white lies? Which one has saved more careers?
Duct tape.
Tell me about it.
I think it's something that people implement really quickly all the time and don't even recognize they do it.
Got it. Uh, Finish the sentence. The most dangerous thing a woman in leadership can say is,
I need some help.
ooh, I like it. A woman walks into a room and immediately feels underestimated. First move, what does she do?
Change the way you carry yourself. Put your
Ooh,
shoulders back, put a smile on your face, and put a walk on like you own it. That will instantly change the reaction everybody has to you.
love it. What's the one thing every woman reading your book will recognize about herself on page one, even if she does not want to admit it?
That I'm rooting for her.
I heard that. I love that. All right, Miss Emily, let the people know how they can get in touch with you, continue to follow your journey, get the book. What do you have coming up? Give them all the good stuff.
I am at emilylampkin.com. This is the book. It's pink, of course. You can get it anywhere you buy books, Amazon, anywhere. I am on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook actively. YouTube, you can find all of my material there. What do I have coming up? A lot. I am on tour all the time with this book. By the way, it's easy to see on social media because I wrap landmarks in every town I'm going to in pink duct tape before I arrive and put them out. So it's Hartford on Friday. I speak worldwide, so I have tons of that ahead of me. And then, of course, since we all have a lot going on, I have a college graduate on Sunday and I have a high school graduate in 2 weeks.
Look at you. Look at you. I love that. Well, thank you for being here. I'm happy to have the opportunity to chat with you. And let me talk to the people real quick, because if you got anything out of this conversation, and I know you did, here is what I need you to do right now. I need my controllers. I need you wonderful people to go grab Emily's book, Duct Tape and White Lies. The link is in the description. Amazon, go get it. Then I will need you to subscribe to this channel so you never miss a conversation that actually challenges you. And while you're at it, make sure you head over to my Substack, Control the Narrative, okay? Search Control the Narrative, CTRL. Link is in the bio. My newsletter goes deeper on this conversation and everything we talked about today, including a little stats and facts to help you understand women in leadership. Leadership is not a personality trait, it's a practice. And today, you got the receipts from Miss Emily. I'm Tonya McKenzie. Make sure you control the narrative, because if the streets do, it will not be in your favor. All right, guys, see you next time.